The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the bustling poolside of the Grand Mirage Hotel. Guests lounged in deck chairs, sipping colorful cocktails, while the faint hum of chatter and laughter filled the air. Among them was Lily, a young waitress who moved with a blend of efficiency and grace, balancing trays of drinks as she navigated the crowd. Lily had worked at the Grand Mirage for 3 years, saving every penny she could to support her dream of becoming a fashion designer. She had an eye for detail and spent her nights sketching designs on scraps of paper. Though life hadn't been kind to her, she carried herself with a quiet dignity that often went unnoticed. On this particular day, a group of rowdy guests occupied the prime seats by the pool. They were wealthy, loud, and self-assured, the kind of people who treated service staff as invisible. Lily approached them cautiously, carrying a tray of margaritas, her smile polite but guarded. As she bent to place the drinks on their table, one of the men, a tall, muscular figure with a mischievous smirk, extended his foot ever so slightly. It was subtle, deliberate, and timed perfectly. Lily stumbled, the tray tilting in her hands as the glasses crashed to the ground. A collective gasp arose, followed by laughter that rang out like a cruel symphony. "You're supposed to catch yourself, sweetheart," the man sneered, his friends roaring with amusement. Lily felt her cheeks burn as she crouched to pick up the broken glass, her hands trembling. But before she could gather her composure, another voice chimed in. "Why don't we cool her off?" a woman in the group suggested, her tone dripping with mock sweetness. Before Lily could react, she felt hands on her back. A moment later, she was airborne, plunging into the icy blue water of the pool. The world became a blur of sound and sensation, laughter echoing above her, and the sting of chlorine in her eyes. She surfaced, gasping for breath, her uniform clinging to her skin, and met the mocking gazes of her tormentors. The crowd around the pool erupted into laughter. Phones were out, recording the spectacle, and no one stepped in to help. Lily climbed out of the pool, her heart pounding, and grabbed a towel to cover herself. The humiliation was overwhelming, but she refused to let them see her cry. As she turned to retreat into the hotel, a calm but commanding voice cut through the commotion. "That's enough." The laughter died down as everyone turned to see who had spoken. Standing at the edge of the pool was a man in his late 30s, dressed impeccably in a tailored navy suit. His presence was magnetic, his expression a mix of sternness and quiet authority. He wasn't a regular guest. Lily would have remembered someone like him. "Who do you think you are?" one of the rowdy men challenged, his bravado faltering under the stranger's gaze. "I'm someone who doesn't find cruelty amusing," the man replied evenly. He turned to Lily, his eyes softening. "Are you all right?" Lily nodded, her voice caught in her throat.
She didn't trust herself to speak.
The man extended a hand to her. "Let's get you out of here." She hesitated but took his hand. His grip was firm but gentle as he led her toward the hotel, leaving the stunned crowd behind. As they entered the lobby, he flagged down a manager, who rushed over with a mix of confusion and alarm. "This young woman needs to be taken care of," the man said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Make sure she has everything she needs to recover." "Yes, sir," the manager stammered, ushering Lily toward the staff area. Before she disappeared, the man caught her attention once more. "Don't let them break you," he said quietly. Hours later, after Lily had changed into dry clothes and composed herself, she was summoned to the hotel's private lounge. She found the man waiting for her, seated in a leather armchair with a glass of whiskey in hand. He gestured for her to sit. "I owe you an apology," he began. "Not for what happened. That wasn't my doing, but for not stepping in sooner." Lily shook her head. "You don't owe me anything. You've already done more than anyone else would." The man studied her for a moment, then extended a hand. "My name is James." "Lily," she replied, shaking his hand. James leaned back in his chair. "Tell me, Lily, what are you doing working here? You don't seem like someone who belongs in this kind of environment." She hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. But something about James's demeanor invited honesty. "I'm saving up to start my own business," she admitted. "I want to be a fashion designer." His eyebrows rose, and a small smile played on his lips. A designer. Do you have any of your work with you? Lily hesitated, then pulled out her phone to show him pictures of her sketches. James scrolled through them, his expression unreadable. These are impressive, he said finally. You've got talent. Thank you, Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper. Compliments on her work were rare and precious. James set the phone down and leaned forward. What if I told you I could help you turn this dream into reality? Lily blinked, unsure if she'd heard him correctly. Help me?
How?
I invest in people, he said simply. Not just businesses or ideas, but people who have the drive to make something extraordinary. I believe you're one of those people. For a moment, Lily didn't know what to say. It felt too good to be true. Why would you do that for me? You don't even know me. James smiled, a hint of sadness in his eyes. Let's just say I've seen what happens when potential goes unrealized. I don't want that for you. The next few months were a whirlwind. James introduced Lily to industry contacts, set her up with a workspace, and provided the funding she needed to launch her first collection. Under his mentorship, she learned the ins and outs of the fashion world, her confidence growing with each passing day. When her debut show finally came, it was a resounding success. Critics praised her designs, calling them fresh and innovative. As Lily took her bow at the end of the show, she scanned the crowd and found James standing in the back, a proud smile on his face. Afterward, as they stood together backstage, Lily turned to him. I don't know how to thank you, she said. You've already done that, James replied. You proved me right. Lily's life had changed in ways she never could have imagined. But she never forgot where she came from or the moment when everything turned around. It wasn't just about the fashion or the success. It was about the kindness of a stranger who saw her worth when no one else did. And that made all the difference. As the days turned into weeks after Lily's triumphant fashion show, her world began to shift in ways she could barely comprehend. Orders for her designs poured in, each piece of her collection receiving accolades not only from customers but from major fashion publications. Her name started appearing in magazines and on social media as an emerging designer to watch. Yet, amidst the glamour and success, Lily remained grounded. She continued to sketch late into the night, fueled by the same passion that had driven her in her quiet apartment years ago. James was a constant presence, not in an overbearing way, but as a steady guide. He offered advice when needed, stepped back when he felt she needed to grow on her own, and always reminded her to trust her instincts. One evening, after a particularly long day of meetings and design revisions, Lily invited James to her new studio. It was a far cry from the cramped corner of her old apartment where she used to work. The studio was spacious and filled with light, with bolts of fabric draped over tables and sketches pinned to every wall. This is incredible, James said as he walked through the space, running his fingers over a vibrant roll of silk. You've built something remarkable. Lily smiled. I couldn't have done it without you. You believed in me when no one else did. James turned to face her, his expression serious. Belief is one thing, but you've done all the hard work, Lily.
Don't forget that.
She nodded, though she still found it hard to accept the praise. I was thinking, she began hesitantly, about creating a foundation. For people like me, people who have the talent but not the resources. James's face lit up. That's a brilliant idea. It could change lives. Like you changed mine, she said softly. The idea of the foundation took root quickly, and within months, Lily and James were working together to establish it. They named it the Second Chance Initiative, and its mission was simple: to support aspiring creatives who lacked the means to pursue their dreams. Through grants, mentorship programs, and access to resources, the foundation became a beacon of hope for countless individuals. At the launch event for the foundation, Lily stood on stage, addressing an audience that included some of the most influential figures in the industry. She wore one of her own designs, a sleek, emerald green gown that seemed to shimmer under the lights. I was once a girl with a dream, but no way to achieve it, she began, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. All it took was one person to see me, to believe in me, and to give me a chance. That's what we hope to do with the Second Chance initiative, to be that person for someone else. The audience erupted into applause, and as Lily stepped down from the stage, she caught James's eye. He gave her a small nod, a silent acknowledgement of how far she had come. In the weeks that followed, Lily immersed herself in both her fashion career and the foundation. It was exhausting, but it was the kind of exhaustion that came from doing something meaningful. The foundation quickly gained momentum, with its first batch of grant recipients already making waves in their respective fields. One day, as Lily was sorting through applications for the foundation, she came across a familiar name. It was one of the men from the group that had humiliated her at the Grand Mirage. She stared at the application, her emotions a mix of anger and disbelief. He was seeking funding to start a photography business, his letter explaining how he had struggled after losing his job and how he hoped for a fresh start. Lily sat with the application for a long time, wrestling with what to do. Part of her wanted to reject it outright, to deny him the second chance he had denied her that day. But then she thought of James and the lessons he had taught her about kindness and forgiveness. In the end, she approved the application. When James asked her about it later, she explained her decision. "Everyone deserves a second chance," she said simply. "Even the ones who didn't give me mine." James smiled, pride evident in his expression. "That's what makes you extraordinary, Lily." The years passed and Lily's impact continued to grow. Her fashion empire expanded, her designs gracing red carpets and magazine covers. The Second Chance initiative became a global force, changing the lives of countless individuals. Through it all, Lily never forgot the day she was pushed into the pool or the man who had pulled her out, setting her on a path she never could have imagined. One evening, as she stood on the balcony of her penthouse overlooking the city lights, James joined her, a glass of champagne in hand. "To second chances," he said, raising his glass. Lily clinked her glass against his, her heart full of gratitude and hope. "And to the people who make them possible." They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their journey together settling between them. And though the world had changed in countless ways since that fateful day at the Grand Mirage, one thing remained constant: the power of kindness and the way it could transform lives in ways no one could ever predict.